guarding your marriage, safeguarding your marriage. And so tonight is not just for married couples.
Nope.
It is also for those who are aspiring to become married one day, so that we can have a real conversation about, once you get in it, what it's really like and how you protect it. So let me turn it back over to Pastor Graham so we can get our prayer going.
So at this time, I'm going to ask you to bow your heads right where you are. Tell us. We are in revival right now because we want to revive your marriages or your relationships. So let's bow our heads together. Father, again, we want to thank you for all that you've done. We want to thank you for life, strength, the very opportunity to be able to discuss this, not by ourselves, but with your Holy Spirit. And so we're asking now that whatever is said and done will be pleasing to you. In Jesus' name, amen. And so again, we want to thank you for joining us. It has been a while that we have been with you, but we are here now. We want to thank each one of you for being with us on Bible Boot Camp, or BBC Unplugged. And what does it mean to be unplugged? We have no bowls, no holes barred. No hole bowls. No holes
barred.
No, yeah. Go ahead.
It's obviously been a minute since we've been here. So what does unplugged mean? Unplugged means that we plug out from all opinion as it surrounds the Bible, and we have real conversations as to how we apply biblical principles to today's Christian walk. So that's why it's unplugged.
That's true,
sir.
True. Well, let's remember that I'm the one that talks about the pulpit, and
I'm coming from.
She's talking about the pew.
I'm coming from the pew.
So we don't really want to hear too much from the pew.
Well, we're trying to hear too much from the pulpit.
Right. So in light of this, I'm going to ask Lanny, if you just introduce our guests, at this time.
Yes. This evening, like I said, we have Debra Anderson and Chaplain Paul Anderson. They are joining us. I'll let them introduce themselves, but I do know that we have been waiting with bated breath to bring this couple on. We feel this evening that they have a wealth of knowledge to share with us, not just us, the audience, and anyone who is interested in knowing how to safeguard your marriage. Right. So I will allow them to just give a little bit more information about themselves. They're joining us via Skype. So with that, I welcome Chaplain Paul and Debra Anderson. Welcome to BBC Unplugged.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. May I take the opportunity to introduce my lovely wife. She is the woman of my dreams, the love of my life, good sweetheart. My wife for 32 years. She's my baby mama, y'all.
All right now.
Okay.
And they're good-looking kids, too. And we're proud of them. She is a consummate professional, starting in news broadcasting and a full career in that, television and radio. And now she works as the Deputy Chief of Staff for a congressman from Pennsylvania.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
And Chaplain Anderson
She's fine, too,
is the love of my life. We met, I have to tell you, when we were 14 and 15, and I couldn't imagine life without him. He's a chaplain, a commander in the United States Navy, has a Master's of Divinity, a Master's in Counseling. Next month this time, he will be Dr. Anderson, having graduated with his Doctor of Ministry.
Very nice.
We're working me on the dissertation.
We're claiming it.
That's right.
And so we've been doing this marriage thing for about 32 years. And what we have found is that God has sent us through some really interesting things. Some disappointment, discouraged a bit, but he saw fit to help us hang in there. And I believe that God sends us through things so that we can have a testimony for others who may be going through some things. So we try to garner what we have learned and share it with other people who might be interested in it.
Yeah, we're smart people. Most of what we learned about marriage, we learned in the School of Hard Knocks. So this is not theory. This is stuff we know for sure.
Good.
Okay.
Well, I want you to know that we're seeing your picture, but we're not seeing you live. But we're hearing you, and we're going to try but we're still going to try to.
She said, "Oh, good."
No. We're going to fix this. This is going to be fixed. No. This is going to be fixed.
Do you have?
No. Don't worry. We're going to be seeing you talk real soon. So in light of this, we are looking forward for individuals to call in. to ask some of the necessary questions that needs to be asked, because we really know that there's a lot of individuals who are dealing with situations concerning their marriage and just relationships, even getting married. And so in light of this, we believe that it's important that we hear from a generation that is telling us this is what we went through. We've got more to go, and we want you to join us on this journey. So we're very excited of the very fact that you can be here with us to help us, to guide us, and to help guard us, along this way. Landy?
So our number this evening, for those of you who want to join in via telephone, our number is 347-989-8128. That number again is 347-989-8128. If you can call in and just listen if you don't want to access us via Praise Vision or Ustream. You can call in and use that number, or if you want to speak with us, just press 1, and then we'll get the indicator here in the studio, and then we'll bring you on so that you can ask whatever question you have of the Andersons or myself and Pastor Graham. So again, that number, 347-989-8128. That's the number for Unplugged. So with that being said, I want to turn it over to the Andersons and just let them begin. And this is an open discussion. We have banter. We go back and forth. We have a lot of talking points for tonight, and I want to try to get all of them because they all look so very interesting. Mm-hmm. So we'll do our best, but sometimes Pastor Graham has a lot of questions.
Oh wow! So, a lot of times, Landy has a lot of questions. In fact, Landy act like she don't have, like she got all the answers. Like we don't need the answers.
I'm not saying anything tonight.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go ahead and turn it over to the Andersons. And let them begin. And so again, thanks for joining Unplugged. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have for us this evening.
Well, let me start, if I might, by just saying that it really is a pleasure for us to be here. So thank you for the invitation. And we are praying. The devil is always in the details. Mm-hmm. And my husband's new computer keeps telling us it wants to shut down in about 3 minutes. So we're just going to pray that away.
Yes.
Amen. All right.
Yes.
So if we go black, you'll know why.
I got you.
We'll be back.
But we'll be back.
That's right. I got you.
We'll fix it up. We'll fix it up.
Contrary to what that saying is.
But if you're black, never mind. Well, let me just start by telling you that last week, Paul and I were taking a little road trip after church this week, and I knew that my vehicle needed some, regular maintenance work. So I sent it into the shop just to have, the regular, the oil change, I need to where I'm going. I need us to be partners in my travels. So I took it in, and while it was there, I asked the mechanics if, while they were checking everything out, if they would, do that, put it on that diagnostic machine where they can tell you what might be coming up. Well, much to my chagrin, they $1,500 in additional work that was going to be coming up. Wow. I choked and I said, okay, as long as it's not urgent, as long as I'm not in the crisis right now, we can put it off for a minute. I know what I need to do. I know how to keep it going. We're fine. Okay. So I'm looking at a $1,900 bill over time. But at least I had them prepare me for what it is I am in store for. And I was appreciative of that part of the conversation, at least.
Okay.
Right.
And so it's, where I'm going with this. It's very much like our marriages. I see that we value, as I value my car, my vehicle, I more so value my spouse. And I want to make sure that we are running in sync and that our relationship is running on all 4 cylinders. 8 cylinders, yeah. 8 cylinders. Okay. But I want to make sure that everything is right. And so every now and then, we need a tune-up after 32 years. So we go to see our counselor, and she tells us, she gives us a diagnostic treatment based on what she sees, and she tells us this is what could be coming up if you don't work on it right now. And so we've learned to work on the right now.
Or how to plan ahead so that you can be where
we want to talk about how there are a couple of steps. There are a couple of things that we need to know about safeguarding our marriages. And can you still hear us?
Oh yes,
Yes,
oh yeah, we're with
loud and
you.
clear.
No. Oh no, now they're gone.
Well, now they're
I didn't do that.
gone.
Okay,
I think we may have lost his computer.
Okay, I think we lost his computer. Landy, save the day. Save the day.
Yes. Okay. Well, so safeguarding your marriages. Yeah, Pastor Graham.
Somebody safeguard
He's like,
the Skype.
Right. Okay, so I guess we're going to get them back in short order. But I do know that, so she talks about tuning up, her car needing a tune-up, and being appreciative of the fact that the mechanic was able to tell her what to expect coming down the road. So the whole point of this evening is being able to help those who are anticipating coming into marriage or who have not even hit those speed bumps.
You see what the
those
issue
potholes.
See what the issue is, a lot of people feel that when you get married, you don't have to, you're not going to hit these speed bumps. Or you think that everything is going to be
It's very
you happier as you're going,
it fathoms me. I don't know. I don't. Okay. People say that there won't be, like, you get married and everything is easy. I can't. I can't fathom that because really and truly, you have two individuals coming together that now need to make things work based on their experiences, based on what they're bringing to the relationship,
right?
And that on top of all the external pressures that come in marriage, because once you get married, then they let you stay married for a little while, then they start pressuring you about children, and then when the children, then they start pressuring you about something else. When you gonna do this job? When you gonna live here? How you gonna do that? There are a whole lot of pressures that come with it, and that on top of managing your relationship, I think
can be very stressful.
Right, and I don't know if the Andersons are going to touch this, but I think it's important. Like, I have seen this work where you have someone who's married, like a newlywed, like the first 2 years, they pair up with someone who's been married like right under 10 years, and then you do the same 15 years, 20 years, and then you go to, 30 years, 40 years, and all those various generations of couples can help one another.
That's right.
Because different stages of life, you can help that person who is now going through something that you went through.
Right.
And I think those types of relationships are necessary in that they help you anticipate, they help you plan, and they give you a real sense as to what is
what
to come.
It's all about.
Right.
My grandmother always told me marriage have teeth, it bites. And it's not all gums. The truth of the matter is it's a beautiful thing, but a tough thing. And it becomes tough when we don't put I'm going to put it this way, when we don't put our trust in someone who can help us handle our relationships. And I think sometimes, and I love this, I was talking to my sister-in-law the other day, and she said she really believes that there are more good marriages, but you always hear about the bad ones.
Yeah.
And
I think like anything negative gets more play.
I believe it.
You know what I mean?
I believe it.
Every time you hear on the news, divorces this in California, not in California, in Hollywood, you hear about all that stuff going on. But the truth is, there are a lot more marriages out there that people are sticking it out and making it happen, but you don't hear about them.
No.
So you don't get the press, if you will, that it is indeed possible.
Yeah.
So anything negative is going to
it's going to get more play. It's going to get more play.
Yeah, it's actually going to get more play. I see we have a caller on that wants to speak. I hope they want to speak to us, because right now the Andersons, we're trying to get them back. But your last 4 digits. 7103 with a 202 area code. 7103, you are on with Unplugged. Good evening. Hello? 7103?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm noticing that 7103, you have pressed 1, indicating that you want to speak with us. So if that is not the case, press 1 again, and then we won't bug you. But if that, if you continue to press 1, they just want to listen. If you continue under that status, then we're coming back. 7103, do you want to speak with us?
Okay, I guess not.
Okay, no, they hung up. So, yes, if you want to listen, you don't have to press anything. Just dial the number and you can listen.
Let's try that again. No Andersons.
No
Not
Andersons.
yet. No Andersons yet.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
keep
So
going.
while we're still waiting for them to get back online. So marriages, Pastor. Now we've been married. Not you've been married and I've been married, but
Thank you.
But we've been married
Thanks for
to
fixing
our
that.
respective spouses
Thank you.
for the same amount of time, for almost 13 years.
Right.
I had to clean that up real fast.
You sure did.
For the same amount of time for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I can say for myself.
Okay.
I think I've seen where, the expectations going in
Uh-huh.
and, how everything is, oh yeah, woo, 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 woo. And then you get into life, you get into bills, you get into children,
Yep.
you get into real stuff and how that makes you grow closer, how it makes you prioritize your life, and I think that a lot of times people don't know that.
Yeah, I think, I've seen many couples in my home before they get married. And I think they have a false sense of what marriage, no, I'm sorry, not that they do, but they start with a false sense of what marriage is all about. That false sense of it's about doing what I want to do. And first of all, marriage is not, it's not the sex glue.
Right.
And I think a lot of us, especially as Christians, we feel like we got to get married so we can do the sex thing. And the truth of the matter is you can get tired of that. You can get tired of that because if you're tired of the person, you get tired of that in the person. And the truth of the matter is if you don't have like that glue, that spiritual glue, or, or that very thing that talks about our expectations, your expectations in the person, you have to have expectations in a person that's going to go to a different level instead of having expectations of the marriage.
Right.
What is married to you? What is marriage to you? Some people, marriage to them is a financial stability. And say, I am, that you've reached a status. And I want you to know, marriage is not a status that you reach. And that you have to maintain. You got to maintain that status. It's not something that you just get into. And I think of a lot of young people make that mistake, just feeling married.
Now the work starts.
Right. Definitely.
That's when the work starts. Because and unfortunately, I'll speak to the women on this one. Because
here we go.
Sometimes
you start already. Foolishness.
Sometimes the female, they have to work to get the guy to attract him by doing various things. Looking nice, making sure your breath smell good. I hear that. So just making sure that you take care of yourself, hygiene and all that stuff that you did before to attract the young man.
Please keep doing it.
Who is now your husband? Please keep doing it. I love to see older married women who still doing their thing.
Yes.
And they quick to tell you, look, that's how I got him. I'm keeping him. I'm making sure that I'm still appealing to him.
Okay.
And so the whole thing, I got him now. He ain't going nowhere. You might be surprised to wake up one day he be gone.
He gone. In fact, I'll tell you what's so bad about being gone. What's so bad about being gone in a marriage is your body being there, but your mind is somewhere else. That when you go through a situation like that, you consider married, but you're divorced in your heart, or you're divorcing in your heart. And the idea is, how do we then safeguard these things from happening? How do we safeguard our marriages from external threats? External threats. And let's be mindful. The Andersons, I hope that things work out right, but the Andersons was going to talk to us about how do we do that. But external threats, it does not only have to be anything.
It could draws your attention away, or anything that takes priority over your marriage. It could be anything. It's not necessarily another person. It could be your job. It could be money.
Yep.
It could be your children.
Hey, how about this?
It could be.
No, how about this? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are we looking at each other?
We're looking at each other.
There we go. One of the things that I think we forget about also is you can be in the same religion and also at odds with one another, even in the same religion. So, what is the glue? The question is, what is the glue? I want to pose that question out for those who are in the chat room right now. what is the glue that really, do you think, what is the glue that you think keeps marriages or relationships together, or at least keeps it together? What do you think it is? And as we do that, it's important to think of where you may be in your marriage, where you may be lacking in your marriage, and what needs to happen in your marriage for this thing to work. So just jot it down. Come on, jot it down. Don't email. Put it in the chat room, and let's talk about this. What do you think is the glue that keeps marriages together?
And I'm also seeing people, I'm seeing people talk about the things that could be threats, friends, relatives, parents.
Wow.
And then they talk about the glue. They talk transparency, communication with one another, things that could help, that could be a glue. I think that transparency, communication thing, because I think that comes with vulnerability.
Yeah. But how many people are vulnerable?
Exactly.
How many people are willing to be vulnerable? I've seen that. I don't know about your relationship. I don't know about your relationship, but I know in my relationship, if my wife and I are walking down the street and she sees someone, a guy, she will not have an issue. I do not have an issue with my wife seeing someone and saying, hey, that's a good looking person right there. You understand where I'm coming from?
Right.
We have a lot of individuals who feel like, oh no, I'm not going to allow my wife to even have a conversation with someone or even say something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't figure out. You can't be vulnerable enough to say that's not a weakness.
Right. And then how are you going to be so insecure that you can't receive that comment without thinking that is there something wrong with you? You know what I mean? Because I think if you are secure enough in your relationship and you know that your wife is yours, then see some random dude on the street. Random.
Like they don't have your number.
You know what I'm saying? And he just walk by, he's like, oh, that's a nice looking guy or whatever. Then you getting all bothered about that?
Okay, so what I'm just asking. It's just a question. It's just a question. What would Al say if you're walking down the street and you saw a good, and because you're vulnerable and you know each other that much, okay? He knows who you're attracted to.
Right.
Or the kind of person you're attracted to.
Right, okay.
Would Brother Al get upset?
No, he wouldn't. Because I can promise you, my husband knows what
for Al. Always.
You just asked me a question about my husband.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Okay.
But I'm just saying that. So if I were to say it, chances are he's not surprised by that. Now, if I were to say I'm attracted, and he'd be like, for real? You know what I mean? But chances are he's not surprised by that, nor is he threatened.
Well, I see.
Nor is he threatened.
But the only way that you will feel non-threatened in a marriage is if you're open enough to talk with one another.
Right.
And be vulnerable with one another.
Right.
Vulnerability is a key to a great marriage.
Right.
It is the key to a great marriage. And I don't know why we run from it. I don't know why we don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So can I just say?
Yeah.
I think vulnerability is a big deal because you have to expose yourself so much. And you have to trust the person so much for them to be responsible with how you have exposed yourself.
Okay.
I think that's huge, and I think that's why vulnerability is such a huge issue for people, because you literally have to get down. You're putting yourself in a position to be hurt.
Okay.
If that person is not responsible with that, then they can easily hurt you. And I think that's why some marriages don't get there, and it takes time to get there. Even if you've dated for years before, once you enter that relationship, that covenant with one another, you have now, in my opinion, started.
Wow.
That's where you have started, and this is where, okay, now I have license to be vulnerable with you, and you have license to be vulnerable with me.
And let me add this: the only way threat from a third party relationship cannot come in is if you allow yourself to be vulnerable to somebody else.
Right.
If you allow yourself to be vulnerable to someone else, you're opening a door for somebody to come in.
Right.
If you're not vulnerable to your wife or to your husband, you are preparing a road. You're paving a road to go outside to be vulnerable to someone else.
Right.
And remember, I like what someone said in the chat room, is that threat doesn't only have to be a lover.
Right.
It could be a friend.
Right.
It can be your job. It can be worse than that, your mother-in-law.
You know what's interesting to me? Because my husband just came back from a mission
Everything
trip.
she talked about, so okay, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
So my husband just came back from, Al just came back from a mission trip, and he was gone for 10 days, for 10 days. And when he
Remember
came
that,
back,
not 2 weeks, but 10
for
days.
2 weeks, because I was saying 2 weeks, and he was like, no, it's only 10 days. But he was gone for 10 days. And one thing I learned while he was gone is how much I communicate with him throughout the day.
Wow.
Like how much I tell him about just the little things, and how much he tells me about. So many things happened in my day when I couldn't call him that it was like a void. I was like, I can't call him. Talk to him later, then I'll tell him about it. And I had to tell him that he's such an important part of my day that I just tell him the little things, and he obliges me. He's like, okay, go ahead and tell me what's going on.
And he obliges you.
He obliges me because even though it's little, it's still a big deal that I can have someone like that to talk to. You know, the whole opening yourself up and him being that person or her being that person is important. That's why for me, I never did like best friends, girlfriends, stuff like that, whatever, right? Where I tell them I've never done that.
Okay.
And I realized that I really can't do that with my husband. Like I can't share something outside of my husband. I can't share
with someone else.
With someone. I mean, it's just so, you know.
But Landy, not a lot of people can do that.
That's true. I'm just speaking for me.
Okay, and not a lot of people can do that also because of what they see in their own as children growing up. They don't see their parents doing that. Take for instance for myself. I mean, I grew up in a I'm going to say in a West Indian home, and a lot of West Indian men. Wow, maybe I need to be careful because I'm going to get some emails, right? But the way I grew up, it was daddy, you know. Yeah.
He provides.
Daddy provide.
And the mother does all the loving and all the taking care of it. Yes, that's a West Indian.
Absolutely. And you know, and I never really saw my mom and dad, you know, okay, we're going for a walk right now. You guys stay here. We're going for a walk.
Because ain't nobody got time for that.
Everybody got, trying to fix, buy, clean house.
Right.
You know,
right.
But the truth is, they had a relationship. It's just something that they don't show, where we never saw in that sense.
Right.
And so then, why do we have to be best friends with the person that I am married to?
I think that they were best friends, but they were best friends in their flavor of being best friends.
Oh, I like that.
I think that's what we saw. I think literally, our society, our generation now, we're in the same generation, right? Our generation. Don't ask no questions and do as you're told, you know?
Right.
So
I think that other generation that we're talking about here is also a generation that was into roles. This is my role in the marriage. This is your role in the marriage. And there's a dichotomy that you do this and I do that instead of the partnership. Right. We've missed out the mark on the partnership.
Right.
And again, marriages are threatening. I want to use that. I want to use that word. That marriages are threatened when we don't have a partnership.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely is.
But you know, some people would argue that.
Would you? Is it you arguing?
No, I'm not. No, some people would argue because I've heard this. Some people.
I'm scared because we're agreeing on a lot of things.
Some people would argue that the blurring of the lines in roles in the household, those blurred lines create issues.
That's a nice title.
I'm just saying, but you know, that's what it creates issues in that the roles, the clearly defined roles of the past are no longer. And that's where you have husbands staying at home and wives going out to earn money and stuff like that. A lot of people would say that that's an issue.
Okay.
You know, and so I'm not going to start that conversation because that's a whole other conversation.
Wow.
But I think that, you know, the partnership is where some people break down because a lot of people still don't see it as a partnership.
Right.
They see it as, you know, the man, the woman, and the children, and this is where you stay.
Wow.
You know.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I definitely want to hear from the Andersons.
I think they called in on the line.
Okay, so that they'll be calling in, so we can have some questions or what have you answered. But right now, I want to be able to have some folks call in, ask the necessary questions. But in fact, they're coming on. They should be coming on in a bit. So right now, I do have another question concerning best friends.
Okay.
Okay, really best friends. I've gone to tons and tons of weddings where they say, today I married my best friend.
Right.
Okay, today I married my best friend.
Okay.
I don't hold to that too much.
Okay.
I don't know if you did it in your wedding, that you had the
married my
little
best
flyers and today I've married my best friend.
Nah,
Did
you
do
didn't
that?
see. You didn't see that over. I didn't have to declare him as my best friend. In other words, but anyway, that's not what you're asking. Go ahead.
No, that's what. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I think a lot of individuals, they say in their marriages or their wedding. I'm sorry, their wedding, that today I married my best friend. What is your mindset concerning that? Marrying your best friend. I mean, I got my thoughts, but what is your mindset concerning that? Marrying your best friend.
I think that it's important. So a best friend suggests that you in thick and thin.
Okay.
Good, ugly, bad, indifferent, that you in thick and thin. I'm down with that. But I think sometimes a best friend can be that person where you are so open with them that it's damaging for you to go into any type of intimate relationship with them. So it depends on how you define best friend, if you will.
Okay.
It really depends on how you define best friend. But thick and thin, you might, road dog, about it, whatever, then yeah. But it really depends on how you define.
So should you marry someone who's your road dog, who you tell everything to? I mean, is that the person or do you think that there should be a growth, towards that?
A growth towards that?
Yeah.
I think it really depends on the individuals.
Okay.
I think it depends. I think some people they've grown to that spot and it's like yin and yang and it works and it's perfect. And then there are those that have grown to that spot and they feel like they're too close to be in a relationship because they know too much about each other. I think it depends on the person, on the individuals involved. That's what I think.
Okay. I'm wondering if this is the Andersons.
Yes.
call.
No. That's
Okay.
not. Wait. Yes.
Yes. Here
yes,
we go.
that's-
Here we
that's
go. Here we
Yes.
go.
Andersons, are you there? I think. Andersons, are you there? You may need. Down. Can you hear us okay?
I don't think they're hearing us.
I don't think they're hearing us. We can hear them, but they can't hear us.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear us? I don't think they can hear us.
It's not. Okay, yeah, I don't think that they're hearing us.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you, but you're probably not hearing me say that.
Okay.
You can't hear us?
We can hear you, but it doesn't appear that you can hear us. And you're probably just listening through the speakers.
That's right.
Can you hear us?
Yes,
I don't think that's.
they're gonna hear it through the speakers.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we can hear you. So maybe we just allow you to speak.
They're laughing. Oh, that's us laughing.
Yes.
You know what? We're on a time delay,
We
and
are.
I cannot hear you in real time.
Okay. How about now? Does this work?
I can hear you.
You can hear us now?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, there we
Great.
go,
There
we
you go.
All right. We're going to ask you if you'll turn down your volume. Okay.
On your laptop?
On your laptop. And let's again introduce the Andersons. Again, we're glad that you're with us. There's been some questions being asked, and it's good to hear you than not hear you at all. And so we're really glad that you're with us. There were some things that we talked about concerning guarding your marriage. We were talking about guarding your marriage, and at this time, if you can just give us some of these talking points, concerning safeguarding your marriage. And while we're listening, there's going to be individuals who are going to be asking some questions. They're going to be texting and what have you. But it's most important that we hear from you because we definitely.
Begin with the end in mind. If you go into a marriage thinking that it's transitory or transitional, then you won't have the stuff that it takes to last. So you got to go in and say, divorce is not an option. We're going to work through stuff that can be worked through, and realize that this is about till death do us part really isn't the end, but the end of marriage is actually eternity.
You said it's actually eternity, you said?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because, we as Christian believers believe that death is not the end, that it is just a resting point. So when there is that resurrection, there will be an eternal reunion, family reunion in heaven. But the other thing, and perhaps more practical thing, is that a lot of people get married so they can have guilt-free sex.
That's right.
But that's not the only reason for marriage. You should be able to have guilt-free sex in marriage. You should have blissful happiness, but the object of marriage is holiness, community investment, and preparation for the kingdom. And our marriages, the way that we can really test the barometric pressure of our marriages or the environment is whether it's like heaven or not. It should be.
So you basically. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead, please.
And so when you think about safeguarding your marriage, you have to think in terms of what is it that you want from your marriage? What are you looking for? Are you looking for companionship? Are you looking for sex? Are you looking for children? Are you looking for happiness? Are you looking for all of that? And do you know what it is that you want? But do you ever really know? I mean, as an adult, it would have been better if you'd done it before marriage, but even after marriage, have you ever sat down and said, this is what I really want, and this is what I want, versus this is what I need? Because our wants are very different from our needs. I may need Paul to be sure that he picks me up on time from work so that I don't have to stand outside in the dark and expose myself to the elements, to people that can harm me. I want him to come on time while I actually need him to come on time at the same time. I mean, want him to call me 3 times a day just to check in. I don't need him to call me to check in, but that's a want. That's a desire. The need for my safety is very different. The need for the safety of our marriage is very different. And so every couple has a need. Every couple has needs. Every person has a need. And whether that spouse is addressing the need is what can help safeguard the message. Because if your needs aren't getting met by your spouse, trust and believe there are people out there waiting to help meet whatever needs you don't have for them.
Wow.
So knowing what needs are different from your wants is essential.
Needs and wants. I'm sitting here thinking, what do I need
Versus
what do I want? I mean, do I even? The scary thing is, do I even know what I want? I mean, and the question, when you're in marriage, how do you even know what you want, and how do you even know what you need?
And then how do you know to differentiate between the two?
Man.
A lot of people don't know what they want, or they know what they want. They want a pretty girl or a fine wife with all the curves and stuff, and the man with the muscles. Some people want money and that kind of security. But most of the time, they don't know what they need. They will accept what needs are being fulfilled. There's actually a formula relative to that I've learned, and that is that people are having their self-needs fulfilled in the marriage, but don't have a higher goal. Once the need is met, the marriage becomes obsolete and unnecessary.
Oh, Mercy.
Whoa.
That's why marriages break up after the first 4 or 5 years, because that need really might not. If those things are met, then the soul begins to wander.
Wow.
And there is a formula. There are some basic needs that everybody has. Now, whether they are, if you're about 2 of them,
You said there are about how many of them?
Five might be different from Paul's Tiger 5.
Okay.
And so the question is knowing what they are and letting your spouse know what those are. The first one is affection. Everybody needs affection. Everybody needs to know that they are loved. Everybody needs to know that they are cared about. Everybody needs to know that somebody sees the world of me. They need affection. They need to know that they're important and that they're protected. And so affection is the top need that most people have.
We could go down the list.
Oh, please.
No, please. No.
We're here waiting for the rest of the list.
I mean, we want to know.
How about this? Grab a pencil and paper real quick.
Yeah, we're here typing. We're here typing as you talk.
And then people can decide which of the needs is number 1 for them, number 2, number 3, number 4, and their spouse, and something to discuss it with their spouse.
Wow.
So the second need is sexual fulfillment.
Okay.
The third one is conversation. Sometimes there can be too much, sometimes there can be too little of conversation.
You believe that you believe that there could be too much conversation?
Sometimes.
All right.
It depends on the people in the relationship.
I got you. You wrote that?
Some people are like conversational stones, and others are like babbling brooks.
Ooh.
So much so all the water runs by it.
Wow. So the first one was affection. The second one was
sexual fulfillment.
The third one was
conversation. Too much or too little.
Sation.
Right.
Too much or too little. Okay.
The fourth one is recreational companionship.
Recreational.
That's interesting.
What do you mean by that?
Recreational companionship?
Yeah.
If that is when I like to do something, like my hobby, maybe tennis. And I like to play tennis. And so I'll go out and I'll play tennis, and I'll enjoy tennis 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday afternoon. Paul's recreational thrust might be golf. And so he'll go out on the golf course for 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is, for those 4 or 5 hours, I'm off doing my thing, and he's off doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not good in a marriage, because if we're out doing our own thing, there's no time or little time for us to enjoy each other. So the best thing to do is to find a recreational enjoyment that we can both
or share it with each other.
Right.
I play tennis with you, and you come out on the golf course with me.
Right, and I'll drive the car while he hits the ball.
Right.
Wow,
Okay.
wow,
So
wow.
there's companionship. Then what are you doing? Life has too many stresses. We go to work, we have kids, we have to do dinner, do the laundry, wash the windows. So we have to have that fun time
Right.
to be able to recreate, to reconnect through recreation.
And be companions to the other.
And that's the key, because he can go find somebody, and they can, and play, or play by himself. I can go find a tennis partner, but that doesn't do anything to bring us together.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So find a hobby, find a recreation that you can both enjoy
Together.
together.
I don't know what I do together. I watch Scandal with my wife together. I don't know if that's recreational. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's sinful or recreational.
You doing it together though.
I didn't. I'm sorry, but I was just trying to name some of the things. We beat our kids together.
Oh.
You know.
Okay, so let's move on to number 5. Number 5.
Number 5 is family commitment. And everybody wants to know that they matter in the family and in the family structure.
Okay.
And if he's always gone out playing ball or something and not tending to the wife or the kids, the concept of family commitment gets lost. Or if she's always on the phone or out shopping with the girls or something like that. But family commitment means dinner together as often as possible, family worship, family vacations, Disney World, Gatlinburg, Las Vegas when they get older, you know.
Science projects, I think you can relate to that.
Yes. Oh, that was crazy.
Admiration is number 6.
What was number?
Admiration.
Admiration.
Okay.
Everybody know that somebody thinks the world of them, and everybody wants to know, especially that their spouse thinks the world of them, because they are their other self. They are their soulmates, or at least they're supposed to be. They need, and men especially need to know that their wife admires them. And I'm not just talking about, oh, you look good, honey, or anything like that. I'm saying I admire your intellect. I admire the way you handle things. I admire your spiritual connection to God. And so admiration is number 6.
Okay. Admiration is number 6.
Admiration. Number 7 is honesty and trustworthiness and security. A lot of people say that there are certain degrees to which you could be honest. That there's some things your spouse doesn't need to know because you don't want to hurt them. There's some things that are in the past that just aren't important.
Okay.
And, everybody, and, we've read and talked to a lot of people about that. And I think that honesty thing really does boil down to the couple. You know your spouse can handle. You know if your spouse can handle being tired through. The challenge that we always face is when we're not completely honest, there's always something that can rear its ugly head that you might have to come back and explain.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Is that what you call it, Sister Anderson? You call it where someone has to come back and explain? I mean, I think that if LaLa and myself talked about this some time before, and I want to maybe this is a great time to say this. When we talk about honesty, I believe that there's some things that you say to your husband or you may say to your wife that will mess up the whole day. You know what I mean? I mean, it will just mess up the whole day. I mean,
we were getting married, so when you go to buy your furniture, get the best couch you can afford. Not there.
Get the best couch.
The question though is, if you aren't completely up in it, then and something comes up that you have to deal with, that you didn't plan on dealing with, that you never thought your spouse would find out, then the question that leads to trust and security.
Right.
Okay, if you didn't tell me this back then, what else haven't you told me? How much can I trust you?
You begin to doubt everything that person has told you just from that one little thing.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's exactly right. And God forbid you find it out from somebody else.
Right.
Or from some other source. Because it only deepens the hurt, the distrust, the mistrust, the anger, and the security. It actually will rock your whole sense of being.
Right.
There is your whole sense of security, and which is very important for women. We might not have to have a house on the hill or 3 cars in the driveway, but women, we need to know that we are secure not only in your arms, but in your heart.
Right. That's very true.
That's like rock bottom fundamentals.
I don't know if I'm speaking or from foolishness. And this it may not necessarily mean a problem, but if you lose your job, you need to tell your wife. Don't get me wrong. If there are issues going on, you need to say something. But sometimes I feel like married folks or men withhold information because of the doghouse treatment, because of the fact that it holds back on intimacy. You don't want to not be trusted, but you don't want to deal with the issue right now. What do you say in an instance like that?
Deal with it now? I'm sorry. Was that a question for them? No. I'm sorry. I just can't rest.
I tell you, boy.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what you were about to say. Deal with it now or deal with it later.
Exactly.
It's the best policy, but it should also be seasoned with wisdom.
Right.
It's just seasoned with wisdom.
A little bit of a scenario here. And that is, and this is all hypothetical. But let's say that there has been infidelity in the relationship.
Okay.
And the person that was the offender has an encounter with someone who is flirtatious. Now, only opens old wounds. Now, in that case, is honesty the best policy? When you've done nothing to encourage or incur the attraction, but it's there.
Right.
So, do you say something, or do you kind of just let it ride? And no one is the wiser. That's a question for you guys, for your audience. My opinion is just my opinion, and there might be experts that would disagree with me, but I would say you don't. Because why? Because why? What are you, by opening up that can of worms, by opening up and bringing up, things that were painful, that were hurtful, that you're working through even still?
Well, it's again. We went silent for a moment. They're asking if you could repeat that scenario again, and that scenario concerning if there was infidelity. Could you just repeat that just one more time, please?
Okay, I'm saying that if there has been a history of infidelity in the relationship, and the offender is the recipient now, years later, months later, of someone being attracted to them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you tell yourself, because in working through the infidelity, one of the things that you're committed to is being honest with each other. Do you then tell the spouse that was offended that someone has come on to you?
I don't. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Debra. Go ahead and finish that.
And so my question is, what?
I'm sorry.
Sister Debra, she's dying over here.
I'm trying.
My thought is, and this is just Debra's opinion, from just my opinion, from what I've read, from people I've talked to. It's just why? Why would you open a can of worms that will bring up old feelings of hurt, rejection, confusion, anger, dismay, disappointment? Why put your spouse, because it's your
Right.
But what is it doing to yourself?
Okay, so from the scenario, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's someone else who is attracted to the offender?
Correct. The offender has done nothing to encourage that.
Okay.
Right.
Nothing.
So I don't see what the problem is. Yes, granted, maybe this person was the cheater in the relationship in the past, and obviously they're still together, they have gotten through it, and they may be building on trust or whatever, but I think if the offender has not done anything to encourage this, and this person is just trying to come on to the offender, the fact that you have told me kind of helps me build my trust in you even more, because you haven't done anything. Now, if you're holding it from me because you have fed into it, now that's different. But to hold it from me and you haven't done anything, I don't think there's a reason to hold it from me.
Yeah, but that scenario is basically saying, okay, I mean,
I don't think there's anything wrong with someone being attracted to your spouse. That's not the problem.
no, but the problem is that your spouse may.
Goes right to the next one. And I think that this is where wisdom comes in. The number 8 is everybody wants an attractive spouse.
Right.
Nobody wants everybody that nobody wants.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So I personally, I don't see anything wrong with that scenario if the spouse indeed did not feed into it in any way. If this person's attracted, okay, cool. And you want to let me know, because if that person is in our space and they...
But there will always be a question. There will always be the doubt in the spouse's mind. Yeah, she said she didn't do anything. Yeah, she said she did.
Well,
Right.
I remember what happened to when.
Right.
Well, I will say this. If there's always a question in the spouse's mind and you have chosen to stay, because you're really then not healed from what happened before. If there's always a question in the mind and that spouse has not...
Wise as a serpent.
No, the spouse hasn't done anything.
Yeah, but still, listen.
The spouse hasn't done anything.
Let me just be clear, Landy. I'm speaking out of experience when I say this.
Okay. I'm just saying.
No, I am in a sense where, it takes time to build that.
Couch.
Yeah, I'm good with this one. When you simply say, yeah, it takes time to trust a person again.
It does.
It does take time to trust a person again. It takes time to be able to talk through these things,
But I can't. But if the spouse tells me, okay, if I was cheated on, and the person and my spouse who cheated on me,
But why do you have to use the word cheated though? You know what I mean? What?
it is what it is. This is real. This is real talk unplugged. Remember.
Oh, okay.
So if I was cheated on and the spouse who cheated on me came and opened up and told me that this person is attracted to me and they have told me and in some way I know that actually helps build trust in me.
Yeah, but that's you.
I'm just saying. Okay.
But that's you.
I just don't see the problem.
But what I'm saying is that if that person keeps coming back to you to tell you certain things, there's still a healing process.
Absolutely.
There's still some time in there that says,
absolutely.
Look, I am grateful that you're telling me so and so, but somewhere in the back of your mind, as Sister Debra is saying, and it's saying that you're wondering, are you about to jack up again? You understand what I'm saying, Sister Debra? Are they gone?
I do, and that's why for Debra, and this is just Debra, and everybody has to, and obviously LaLa and life's different. But just for Debra, I wouldn't do it because I wouldn't never. And that, just don't get the wounds are so become fresh, and you have to start all over again.
Okay.
That's just. I just wonder, do you lose time by going backwards rather than investing and continuing to move forward? And can you do that without, I hate to say be totally honest. I don't know if that's probably the right term, but what I would, yeah.
I think that what we need on that particular topic is the idea that marriage is spiritual and it requires, if we get wrapped around the axle on unforgiveness or stubbornness, that will lead to a latent or a very active sense of fear, of regret. And it will throw fire on the anger that people feel having been betrayed, or thinking that we've been betrayed. So when we have to realize that no one in a marriage is perfect. That's why forgiveness was one of the pillars of strong marriage.
Mm. Wow.
Got the 8 of those things. You want the other 2?
Yes,
Oh,
please,
yeah.
please.
But before we go to the other two, someone put here in the chat room, accountability versus deception.
Mm.
Accountability versus deception. They go that word again, deception.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, accountability versus deception. What would we rather, accountability or deception?
Mm.
But you know, I think though, one of the things in being accountable is not always just saying what the other person wants to hear. I think accountability is also how you manage your relationship. And because you're managing your relationship doesn't necessarily mean that you're being deceptive. I think if you're hiding information that is pertinent information, then I think that there's a problem there.
So let me ask a question. So I think there's a difference in these two scenarios. If you have a person who was the cheater and who now has...
We find a better word than the cheater.
Whatever you want to call them. I mean, the person who betrayed the relationship.
I like that.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Is that better?
Wait, how about straight away? Straight away.
I'm sorry, say that again?
How about the person
Straight.
who strayed away?
I like that. I like
so
that.
The person who strayed away, and they now have an admirer, someone who is attracted to them, and that person is making it known that they are attracted to them. Would it make a difference if, say, for example, the person who was attracted to the person who strayed away
There you go.
was in like the church family, or if they were on the job and the wife never saw that person?
Wow.
Does that make a difference? Because, like, for me, if I were married to someone who strayed away and they had someone who was attracted to them that I never crossed paths with, but they worked with them and whatnot, it may not be a big deal for me if I knew about that person or anything like that. It may not be a big deal. But if that person is sitting in the pew next to me
Mm-hmm.
and telling my husband happy Sabbath every Sabbath and I don't know, then that's an issue.
Okay.
Is there a difference in that scenario?
The work situation is much more volatile because that one is more distant from the relationship and the social circle. I have had the opportunity to counsel with some younger pastors and chaplains, and attraction is the norm. As long as you're living and breathing, and if you're good looking, somebody's gonna be attracted to you.
That's true.
If you deny the attraction, then it gives it power and fuel. I've recommended both men and women that you own and honor that person's attraction, but redefine and reassert the boundaries within which you will be willing to have some interaction with the person. If she's coming on with me, I'm saying, 32 years of marriage, I appreciate your attraction, but I have so much more invested in Debra that I don't want to jeopardize. I see the attraction, but you got to honor my relationship with my wife, or you're going to have to stay away from me.
And there are times, and LaLa, you threw a spin on it, but there are times that you have to draw those people in.
When you have to draw them in?
Bring them in. There was a time when there was a person that I said I would never have to my house because I knew she was attracted to my husband. And I said she would never, ever come to his house. And then I rethought that and came to the conclusion that perhaps the best thing to do was to invite her into my home because she was a nice person. And, you know, let her see what she would like to put in jeopardy.
I love it.
You know, I think that you and Landy are built from the same cloth.
That is so strategic. I love that.
Unbelievable.
I'm sure it did.
It worked. But you know what, let me go back to the other thing about, you know, about deception versus accountability.
Okay.
And that is that if you want accountability, then you have to be willing to own that accountability and accept it. So then if you want somebody to come home and say, well, so-and-so came on to me today, then you then give up your right to be judgmental and angry and revisit the past.
Jeez.
If you want to know, then accept everything that comes with that.
That's true.
Even the feeling of anger and hurt.
That is
so if
true.
you want accountability, just be honest and just be ready for it.
Yeah. Now that I can get with for sure.
I'm impressed. I'm excited. I'm blushing. You know, where were you guys all our lives? I should have hung out with y'all 10 years ago. Yeah, it's true. It is very true. It is very true. You know, and you know, when you look at accountability versus deception, you know, if you're in a relationship that's working, and what I mean by a relationship that's working, or a relationship where both people are working towards the same goal, I think you're able to know the difference of what should be said, what shouldn't be said, what works, what doesn't work, what in another relationship that might be deception, where in the relationship that's working, where two individuals are working, they will look at it as accountability to the relationship, much less deception. I'm just amazed sometimes of how we don't do the tune-up work. I'm amazed sometimes when we feel like we got it because today we were better than yesterday, or because we're just not talking about what the issues are. And I think that when you're able to be strategic enough to let the individual in your home, knowing that you've got a plan, and the plan will work.
I love it.
I'm wondering what Wendy got up her sleeve.
But you know what? That comes also with a certain level of confidence.
Yes.
That you trust your spouse enough for that person to work with you, knowing what you're doing. Because after all, I believe that married people want to stay married.
Yes.
The hard times. They want to work and do whatever they have to do to stay married. And when you're in partnership, you're willing to do whatever you have to do, swallow whatever you have to swallow to get through so you can make it through. And that's the ultimate goal. It's not even married for 5 minutes. You know, from the church to the reception. Might, in that short a period of time, this is not going to be an easy journey.
Yeah.
No, that's right.
But if you're into it, then you're willing to work through it and go through whatever you have to go through to get there.
Man.
Yeah. I know we have like a little over 15 minutes left, so I want to go ahead and get those last two.
The last two are real quick. Financial support, number 9, financial support. You know, some people get married so that they can be financially secure. It would be a major burden on the spouse. But the need to be financially secure is imperative for everybody, which means that everybody needs to bring something to the table. That doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to be out there working a 9 to 5, but it does mean that everybody has to they have to contribute financially, and that may mean the mother staying home with the children, not putting them in daycare, which could end up costing more than she makes.
Mm-hmm.
So financial support. The last one is domestic support. And you know, a lot of people when they get married, they don't really. Domestic support is it's like cooking and cleaning and doing the laundry, and you know, for the most part, when two people come together, they have been independent. So they'll do their own laundry, they'll cook their own food. It doesn't, you know, they're not necessarily looking to get married and have the wife come home and cook. Those things that you're on, not initially when you go get married. But the longer you're married, the more important it becomes especially important when you have children. And, you know, the wife needs help with the laundry because she's babysitting the kids. The wife needs help with cooking because she's cleaning up the house. Domestic support is when everybody pitches in and helps. I hate to that in the house. I hate it. I despise it. I'm sorry, we have no cookie hard wood. Because I hate vacuuming.
Mm-hmm.
All of that. So he'll do that. I like washing dishes. Never have to wash dishes. I like that. Well, he does, but I mean, he doesn't have to.
I can see him looking at you.
But,
Yeah.
I love my wife.
So, you know, you pitch in and you help each other domestically wherever the need arises.
Right.
Everybody needs to know that they are not a slave to their spouse.
Right.
Do you think that a lot of marriages break up because they did not talk about their roles in their marriage before they got married?
Absolutely. Because everybody comes into a marriage with some concept of what it is or what it's going to be like. But if that's not discussed, then that's when the surprise comes in. And the rose-colored glasses come off when they realize that he's not going to be home every day at 5 o'clock, and she's not going to be dressed like June Cleaver or what's the girl's name on Scandal?
Who's on Scandal? Did he say Scandal? Better not be talking about Olivia Pope. Olivia Pope?
That's all right. I'm with you, brother.
We don't want to fight married to an Olivia.
I wouldn't mind.
But what's interesting though, to that point is, you know, when you mentioned discussing roles, you know, at the beginning of the marriage or whatnot, I think it's important to revisit that roles discussion throughout the marriage, because I know I'm speaking by experience when we talk about roles at the beginning of the marriage when it was just me and my husband, and then 5 years later when one kid came, and now, you know, 8 years later we have 3 children. The roles have to adjust a little bit. And because, like, for example, my husband doesn't come here, but he washes the dishes. You know what I mean? So I think that, yes, the roles discussion is important with the expectation that it is possible that those roles may change. Things happen. And so as a result of that, I think that the discussion needs to be a continual discussion throughout the marriage.
Wow. So things change along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Doc.
Well, I was saying we agree completely with what she's saying, that a marriage has to grow, and it has to be fluid. Someone said you can't put your hand in the same river twice because the water's continually flowing. A marriage is that way too, and because it flows, it's going to curve, it's going to get deeper in some places and more shallow in other places. And, you know, if we're going along for the ride, we've got to be willing to make the adjustments. Another friend said that a bend in the road is not the end of the road unless we fail to negotiate the term. So marriage is a continual readjusting environment of readjustment and negotiation.
And I think it's really important that people sit down with their spouse. Before crisis comes, before my car broke down, I needed to go and make sure that it was in good working order so that it would keep running. And that's what we have to do with our marriages. People need to sit down and discuss what their needs are in a safe environment so that their spouse, you can't hold somebody accountable for what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, you know, what you need, I can't be held responsible for it. So you have to be vulnerable and open enough, and honest with what it is, not what you want, we can deal with that, but what it is that you absolutely need from me. And when you have that, then you can proceed accordingly. And chances are, those top 5 are going to come from the 10 that we just gave you.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
I know that time is getting away. Can I share another couple of six things for your list?
Please.
People think you fight about who squeezes the toothpaste where, or the toilet seat up or down, or not folding the towels right, stuff like that. But there are really only 6 reasons people fight. The first one is whether they're cared about, caring. Second, acceptance. Third, control. 4, integrity. 5, commitment. And 6, recognition.
Wow. Wow.
Next time you find yourself in a challenging moment, before you go off, stop and say, what are we really working through here? Is it the dishes? Is it the kids? Is it that I was late again? Or is it caring, acceptance, control, integrity, commitment, or recognition? When you find what it is and you address that issue, then the fight goes away.
Wow. I tell you, I want to put that on my wall.
I like that.
I definitely like that a lot. I need to put that on my wall. Somebody need to make a T-shirt of that. Because, I mean, I really feel sometimes that sometimes we don't even know what we're arguing about. And if you thought about it, it's all selfish. If you look at the whole thing, at the end of the day, it's all selfish. We have about 10 minutes left. We want to do some housekeeping before we go. To the Andersons, listen, we are so excited and so thankful that we had this opportunity. But I don't think it should stop here.
I agree.
Usually we have so many more individuals who are on, and I know that we've had a lot of difficulties. I'm not sure where is it coming from, but I think that we need to hit some of these topics again, even to go over it again. This
Right.
is absolutely amazing. And somebody put in the chat room just now. Go ahead.
Someone put in the chat room that you guys need to have this at church for a whole Sabbath beginning on Friday evenings. Because it's a lot of information, and they said it's a lot of information to try and squeeze it into this time frame.
Right.
And when I look at the talking points that you guys said, we haven't even scratched the surface.
Come on.
And it's all good information, and there are a lot of marriages that could benefit from that information.
Or I tell you, it would be really nice if we really went gully on this. Oh, did I go Brooklyn?
You said gully.
I said gully.
Wow.
If we were able,
Yes.
if we were able to do this with you guys in studio,
Right.
with the camera on you guys in studio, and them be able to hear you guys clearly, and I know we heard you clearly, but to be able to ask the necessary questions, it's something like this at church, something like this. This is definitely a subject that even singles need to hear.
Right.
Even singles need to hear. Singles who do not have the gift of singleness.
Right.
All right.
Exactly.
Need to hear this, because it definitely is something, it's something that is just awesome. Somebody just wrote in the chat room that this is not just for married folks.
Right.
It shouldn't be just for married folks.
That's true.
It's about relationship building, really.
Right.
Wow.
Relationship building.
Man.
Can I share something with you, Pastor?
Definitely.
One of the things I think God has called us to, based on our experience and our 32 years, is that one of our ministry, our couple ministry, and every couple has to have a mission. Every couple has to know what their purpose is. And we believe that God has given the purpose of helping other couples. So one of the things that we are embarking on as of tomorrow night, actually, is that we're going to be holding small, intimate groups of couples who want to share and encourage other couples that we're going to be facilitating along with another couple. And so that's going to be tomorrow night in Bowie. I won't give the address because I want to give somebody's house address out over the air. But if anybody is interested in being a part of that group, where you could learn some of the things that we've been talking about tonight, it's the ABCs of marriage. So if anybody is interested, they can email us and we'll give them the address. We're going to start tomorrow at 7, go for an hour and a half, and do this on a weekly or 5-weekly basis, depending on the need.
Wow. Is it okay that we can right now put into our slot your email address?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. You just give it to us at this moment?
Mine might be easier.
Okay.
Debs, D as in Debra, of course, E-E-S, Debs81@yahoo.com.
Beautiful.
Real informal, real intimate, just, a way of helping and encouraging couples who are looking for it.
Wow. Debs81 at yahoo.com. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And in the meanwhile, while those sessions are also going on, and I hope a lot of people take advantage of them, Pastor Graham and myself, we're going to brainstorm a little bit because we want to have you guys back.
Definitely.
So we're going to brainstorm as to how that's going to happen. There are a lot of things happening over the next couple of weeks with the open alumni and stuff like that. But we're going to do some brainstorming. So again, if you are on Facebook and you have not yet liked BBC Unplugged, that's where we send out all of our information. Our Twitter account, BBC Unplugged. We're going to do some talking and then determine when we're going to have the Andersons back, because
Absolutely.
we need to hit some more of these topics. And I think we just scratched the surface tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get more people calling in. We had some issues with the Skype, so we were using our phone number to talk to the Andersons. But once we get all that taken care of, and once we can get more people calling in, then we can do that. But I think that we need to have them back. We just need to figure out when.
Absolutely. and if someone is asking a question to the Andersons, is it
But if the need is great enough, we can do one for engaged couples. So tomorrow night's the first night, and if the need is great, we can expand and specialize.
okay? I think that if they have any questions, they can definitely get in touch with you at this email address.
Correct.
At this point. Beautiful.
Okay, great. Well, we have a few minutes left. I'd like to thank Chaplain Paul and Debra Anderson for joining us this evening.
Mm-hmm.
Just stay tuned for more information. We will have them back. It's just a matter of when. So if you have not yet liked BBC Unplugged on Facebook, do that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can get all of our information on the next upcoming shows and whatnot. So thank you so much to the Andersons. You have given us a lot of information tonight, some helpful information. We had good discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Here.
One more
Marcel.
time. If you could just say it one more time.
Okay. In the next 2 weeks, we will be bringing in Ollie and Denise Marcel from Married People this month, and maybe into next month if we bring back the Andersons.
No, we will.
Because marriages are under attack.
Yes.
So let's be real about it. Let's have real discussions about it, and just get to supporting one another and giving each other strength with good information. So this evening's BBC, very thankful to the Andersons once again. Our next show is in 2 weeks with Marriages Are Ministry, 7:30 p.m. And then just look out for more information for the month of May. That's all I had. Pastor, did you have anything?
No, that's it. Just ask for a special prayers for everyone. This weekend,
Yes.
it's going to be a great weekend. We're heading out to Oakwood
Oakwood.
University, where my brother and myself will be speaking for Alumni Weekend. So we ask for your prayers. Not only that, we have a lot of flyers and stuff that we'll be giving out for Bible Boot Camp and BBC Unplugged. We just want this to grow as we go.
Yes.
We want to
90 seconds.
We got 90 seconds.
90 seconds left.
So we want to be the best and do the best. Again, we want to thank you for joining us, and look out for us. Look out for us. We plan on building. We plan on moving forward. So again, between myself, who's always right, and Landy, who's always wrong.
Who's right her?
Well, whatever. We want to thank you.
Let me hear you say, oh, oh, oh. It's been a real hard couple of months, you had enough. But it's been hard for everyone, you're not alone. You've been hurting way too long, let it go and just move on. Make your way down to the altar, hand it over and leave it there. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. So everything that you've been worried about, you need them to work it out.